Can everybody hear me?
Yes, Audrey, we can hear you.
All's good.
Yeah, I can hear you. Mike.
Hi, Mike. Christie? Can you hear me
Yeah.
okay?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right. Bill?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right. Just checking. All right. He's on. Maybe Robert's iPad? Maybe. I got my phone.
One, two. Three, four.
Click on our website, we did have four. Website, probably it's on our homepage, or on the COVID page.
Well, I guess we have quorum here, so I'm gonna call the meeting to order, the Pepin County Board of Supervisors, Wednesday, August 19th. Then, it's gonna be held here in the boardroom and jointly with Zoom. And it's properly noticed under the Wisconsin statutes. Roll call, please.
Michael Wright?
Here?
Rebecca Hansen? Here.
Christie Winkler? Chris Keys Winkler? Paul Vogt?
Here.
Michelle Pepin.
Here.
Tessa King. Absent at this point. Bill Ingram.
Here.
Tom Miller.
Here.
John Andrews.
Here.
Kevin Kosak.
Here.
John McDonough.
Here.
Angela Boxell.
Here.
And then back to Chris Keys Winkler. That's right. I'm thinking.
Can you unmute her? Shoot, yeah.
And then Tessa King.
Here.
All right, just in time. So
Might be on.
Chris might be.
Yeah, I don't know who that is.
There's a phone number that just popped up.
I am, yes,
You're
I am here.
All right, gotcha. All right.
Thank you.
Everybody's present.
We're gonna stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, we got three outgoing board members, and we normally do this right after the election, but with the situation of COVID, we got two of them rounded up tonight. I don't know if Irene is on remotely or not. But at this time, we'd like to recognize Frank and Jean are here, and Irene, if she's here remotely. So come on up, and we've got your clock and your name, and so I get a picture. Yeah, good job. Congratulations, you did.
Thank you very much. One more time, can you shake her hand, or just kind of elbow or something? All right,
Okay, thank you. It's been an honor and a privilege and a pleasure to work with everybody here. It's been a lot of good people. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Dean.
Here you go, Frank. Congratulations. Thanks for your time.
It was a great 4 years.
Thanks for everything.
Irene, are you there? Guess she's not with us tonight, but we say thanks to her too, and Audrey will get her clock and her plaque with her name on it to her. Thank you guys again. Okay, approval of the agenda. Anybody want to make any changes to the agenda? It's a little bit on the short side, which is good. We'll leave it as it is. Public comments regarding the listed agenda items. Any public comments? Any public comments? Hearing none, we'll move on to 7. Consent agenda items, approval of the minutes for the last meeting. And any additions or corrections? I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion by John, second by Michelle. Roll call, please.
All right, Rebecca Hanson,
Yes.
Chris Keys Winkler. Chris Keys Winkler.
Audrey, can you hear me?
Yep, we can.
Okay.
Alright, so you approve the minutes?
Yes.
Paul Hook,
Yes.
Michelle Pepin,
Yes.
Tessa King,
Yes.
Bill Ingram,
Yes.
Tom Miller,
Yes.
John Andrews,
Yes.
Jeremy Bozak,
Yes.
Donna McDonough,
Yeah.
Angie Martell,
Yes.
Michael Wright.
Yes.
Okay, all 12 yeses.
Okay, motion carries. We'll move on to reports here, the committee reports. Let's start with, law enforcement.
Okay. We had a meeting August 3rd at 3 o'clock. Somehow or another I got voted in for chair. How much of this you want me to go through? The reports on the communication project update, towers up in Lake City, they're waiting for Excel. Let's begin work on the shelter. And Wabasha is gonna lease part of the tower for $350 a month. Let's see. Recon will start installing equipment, and they hope to be done by August 14th, depending upon when the Lake City Tower has power. New software will be installed by September 11th. If the tower equipment has been installed by then. The other thing, approval of the budget. Sheriff Warner wanted to request that the $36,000 that's allocated for the WI bars instead go towards a car for the sheriff deputy, cause they're not using that fund. Let's see. And then, judge for that float, assistance. It's, gonna be 12 to 15 hours a month to hire somebody to, check out all the jurors and everything when they come in and do sanitizing in between. Be less than 600 hours annually. And, when the crisis is over, the position is, eliminated. And then, let's see, Maria talked about, grants, COVID-19 funding. The county is allocated, $4,200, it needs to spend $8,400 to receive. And this is the emergency management director for the COVID-19. That's about all I got.
Okay, anybody got any questions for Kevin?
Bill, what was that grant, Kevin?
It's something new, it's a COVID, let's see here, emergency management performance and grant, COVID-19 funding. Emergency Management Director Maria Nelson announced that there is a new grant available due to the COVID-19. The grant would provide a 50% match for hours the Emergency Management Director spends on COVID-19 matters. So,
50% match. Any more questions for Kevin? Hearing none.
This may not, are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Okay, this is not necessarily a question for, the specific law enforcement for Kevin, but I am, wondering if there's been anyone that has contacted any members of the law enforcement committee regarding the sheriff's, statement on enforcing the governor's mandate, regarding the mask, wearing of the mask. And then at this time, I'm just a little concerned to see, I guess, all of my fellow county board members indoors without a mask on at the meeting.
There was nothing brought up at the law enforcement committee meeting that, Joe had any contacts of anybody calling in about that.
Any other questions?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to land conservation. Angie?
All right, hopefully you can all hear me well.
Loud and clear.
So, okay, for the extension part of the committee, we had some, of course, we did the vouchers, and then we went over a memorandum of understanding, two of them actually, one was between the Fair Board and Pepin County. So, as many of you, or hopefully all of you know, we do our fair, Pepin County's fair with Buffalo County, so there's these understandings. And then the second agreement that we went over was the memorandum of understanding between Extension and the Fair Board. So some of this just covered the fees associated with the fair and make sure that we all understand the responsibility. Moving on to the land conservation portion, we have reports. Let's see, for business items, we did go ahead with a contract with River Travel Media. So this will help, let me see if I can find it. I think the one was, it was for website maintenance, for search engine optimization, and also content creation. The contract does end, I believe, it's at the end of December. And so we're gonna try it out. Hopefully this can end up bringing extra money into our economy here, which will help us out, as you all know. Let's see here. We also approved a proposal to go ahead with proposal for the FEMA letter of map revision for portions of the Chippewa River in Pepin County. We chose SEH to work with for this proposal, or the proposal that we chose. There will be comments on that at a later time. As far as the Silver Birch Park road repair, this is something that this is the second time it's been on the agenda in a road here. And so this, we decided to go ahead with an easement for the Kelstroms who live on this property. Just to kind of update you, this is on Dead Lake. I believe it's what it's called. I'm not super familiar with. Silver Birch. Yep, sorry. Silver Birch Lake. So then the road that the county sometimes has to use to go back to the aeration this has been in disrepair, and the Kelstroms can't even get like LP back there to keep their house. So we made an agreement that they should have an easement, and then we're going to split the cost of road maintenance. So we're going to also have comments from the Kelstroms on that they were not able to attend the meeting. Another thing, we went over the land and water resource management plan. There will be public comments in the future on that. And then we went over the Beaver Creek Reserve Cooperative Agreement and decided to move forward with that. It's all taken care of by a grant, and basically that's just going to be watching over invasive species. And then we did vouchers. Any questions?
Any questions for Angie? Okay, thanks, Angie. Let's go to health.
That is we met on Thursday, August 13th at 8 o'clock. The COVID-19 report, at that time she reported that there was persons between the ages of 5 and 81, with 0 deaths, 2 hospitalized, and at that time I believe we still had 2, but then it went to 0 shortly after that, my understanding. approval of the reproduction health services and nurse practitioner agreement between Pepin County and the Oak Park County Health Department. We had the medical sharps disposal container donated to the city of Durand. They're gonna locate it wherever they determine it should be. And then we approved the health department limited term employment for a registered nurse, higher pay rate. Then we went into closed session, came out of closed session, and we gave the ID latitude to take care of that limited term employment of a registered nurse for that department.
Thanks, John. Any more questions any questions for John? Hearing none, I'll move on here. I've got to do highway. We had probably one of the shortest meetings I've had since I've been here, but there's a couple topics. There's pretty much summer maintenance is in hand right now. They're doing some work on township resurfacing. The seal coating is scheduled here soon. We had an update on the facility, but we'll have that here later in this meeting, so I won't even touch on that. And so far, new commissioner's been on board. He seems to be getting engaged, let's say. So, any questions for the highway? Oh, by the way, one thing I was going to touch on is the township reports and communications. It's starting out. We've had some real good returns from the townships, and we got a few to come aboard yet, but I think it's going in the right direction. We're always looking for new input. Okay, I'll move on to the administrative meeting we just had here last week. Quite a few of these things we'll see here later tonight, but I'll just touch on the ones we're not. Audrey here has been looking into some video systems or speaker systems or technology we need here. She's brought a few things forward, but she's looking for input, and anybody that's savvy in technology is what we need to ask questions and bring them forth. We made no decisions. And we did approve what Kevin talked about, the transfer some money so they can use it for a squad car for the chief deputy. And we also approved the UVC robot for using the CARES Act funds. We also approved the 1 day a week telework requests for the health. And we had 2 closed sessions. One was a concerned citizen wanted to know about a piece of property that was going into tax arrears and some of his options. So we kind of just advised him what his options were. There was no decisions there. And the other one, the water bill property, I brought that one forward. This is concerns a piece of property the county has owned for 60 years. It's an odd piece that 2 people have been using for them 60 years, basically. And we'd like to get it back on the tax roll. And we just went through some discussions how to entertain this back to the adjoining landowners. So, any questions? The rest of it we'll see here tonight.
With respect, Chairman Milliron, I believe the telehealth agreements were not health. I believe they were human services.
Oh, human services, sorry. Correct, human services. Thank you, Heidi. Any other questions? Hearing none, we'll done with the committee reports.
Human services.
Human services.
Human Services doesn't meet until next Monday. We had our July meeting early.
Oh, she was on my list.
Yep, because we don't meet until next week.
So, this is part. Thank you, Cassie. So,
Yeah.
okay. We'll go to the county clerk's annual report. You're on, Audrey.
19, I'm gonna present my annual report. My oversight committee is the admin committee. And the first page just explains all my duties, mandatory duties that I do regularly. You can see I'm quite busy. Second page explains my department. I have myself as an elected position, my deputy clerk, Marie Renor, she's 3 days a week, and an assistant, which is Tammy Beckel, and she is 2 days a month. So I don't have a lot, I hope, but to get by. So for department services, we do marriage license. As you can see, the number from 19 was down about half. But it consists of pretty much non-residents. We have people from all different states come through. Dog license sold, went down a couple hundred. The DNR license, like fishing, hunting, any of those license, pretty steady, 788 over 94 from the previous year. Bike trail passes, those were down a little bit, but not bad. And then voter registration, plat books we sell, about average there. The supplies list, like what I order from different departments, those numbers are pretty consistent. Inventory, supplies, I have a credit card that I purchase things for. That went up sizably, quite a bit from the previous year, but that was just necessary items that we needed. Petty cash. Timber petty notices is another project. We get, that increase almost double. It is double, I guess. Then surplus sales. What usually happens is we have like a surplus sale, kind of a thrift sale type, which we brought in $349. And then we also sold one vehicle from the sheriff's department of $7,800. And that's all for that page. Page 3, our revenues for the county clerk's office. We came in a little under about 2,100. That was because of marriages were down. Another thing, family filing fees were down, and that's all with the marriage license. Expenses for my office, we were under by about $980, which is pretty close. Expenses for the county clerk and its elections, that was under by about $9,800. That was because we only had one election last year. Down to the county board, their expenses, that was under budget by about $6,100. That was due because of per diems were down and the mileage of the meetings. Revenue for dog license, that was, let's see, I have to tell me right in here, under by $249, 250 bucks. That's just an ongoing, trying to collect as many as we can, trying to get after people to pay their license. Expenses for the Humane Society, that stayed the same. That just, you know what the budget is, and that's what the budget's gonna be, so. All right, page 4. For the county board finances, their expenses, so that would be their salaries and fringes, that was under by $5,200. The expenses that occur for county board, like printing, that was over, which, you know, your packets are quite big sometimes. Copy costs, that's another charge that, because of the copies. But otherwise, the rest were under budget, like the dues, the supplies, the telephone. So in all, the expenses for the county board, expenses were down by $6,100. On page 5, my accomplishments for the year 19 is we created, printed, and mailed postcards for the search of land for the highway facility. We held elections training for all the municipal clerks and the election workers. We set up a link to to offer employees an option to order clothes with the logo on their clothes. Continue to update the website as things change, and to provide service to Pepin County residents as needed. So for marriage license, we have the Villa Belize and the Hidden Meadows and Barns that offer a perfect spot for marriages, and that brings in a lot of income for us. If they don't wanna waive the $5 or 5-day period, they are charged an extra $25, which Pepin County keeps as income. Elections for 2019, we only had one. About 1,300 people voted, 1,322 voters voted that day. My deputy Marine Minor, she's my specialist, I should say, and I'm prepared for the elections. She knows pretty much everything off the top of her head. Dogs, in 19, we issued 1,222 dogs. Our fees are $8 or $20 depending if it's neutered or not. And then, we have Carol Kelton, that she picks up our stray dogs that are in roaming in the city. And she picked up 11 for 2019. And then we continued to sell platforms, the 2018 version for $25. Page 6. So just a brief explanation of the 2019 actual. Revenues of the marriage license is what kind of threw it off. And bike trails were sold, that increased, so it offset it a little bit. County board financials, actually came in under by 5,253. And then the brief explanation of 20 budget to 19 budget, just the change of elections from 1 to 4 makes a difference in the budget. County finances for county board finances for that time period. Salaries were lowered, and then lodging and seminars increased by 800, but raised in the copy cost of 100. And then the next section, changes from 18 to 19 actuals. County clerk's finance changed a little bit by like 2,100 because of the marriage officiations. And then we really counted on that income. Expenses for 19 were about 18,000 less than 18. And majority of it is because of elections again. So it's either elections or marriages that kind of fluctuate. County board finances is the county board again due to conferences that we're not gone to, so the mileage and lodging was less. So, any questions?
Thank you, Audrey. Anybody got any questions for Audrey?
I just have one on the platforms. Do
Yeah.
you sell many platforms?
We do, quite often, yeah. And then our plan was to do every even year do a new version, but this year was just too busy with COVID, so probably next year. We'll get that.
Thank you.
So,
Any more questions? Thanks again, Audrey.
yeah, you're welcome.
Okay, the Pepin Library, Christie, you're on.
Good evening, can you hear me?
Very good, thank you.
Excellent. As always, I'm Christy Runquist. I am the director at the Pepin Public Library. And we always want to first extend our gratitude to the support that the county and the county board gives to the library. It is greatly appreciated. You should have a copy of the current annual report for 2019. Highlights out of it is our circulation is staying very similar, maybe increasing just a touch. A lot of it is switching to e-books, e-audios, those electronic resources. But when you add those to our physical materials, they are staying very consistent throughout the years. We did drop a few years ago, but we're coming back up. We're not quite to the high that we were about 10 years ago, but we're still holding our own. I know that these things I'm going to mention now are probably more for next year, but they seem more current and more relevant right now. So I just wanted to touch on what we've been doing since all of this COVID has started. In March, we did have to shut down under governor's orders, but at that time, we then provided a cart out on the front steps that people were able to just come and take books off. It became a big free little library. People would come, drop things off, they would just do an exchange. Very well received by the community. They were getting very, very twitchy and nervous without having the library open. Come April, we were able to start providing curbside service. So people would call us, email, they would place holds through our online card catalog, and we were then able to pull things off of our shelves, check them out, and then when they would call us and make an appointment to show up, we would then deliver the things out to their cars, or we would set it on a table outside, then close the door and let them approach and pick up their things. This too was very well received. People were extremely happy to be able to start getting the materials back again. We also, during April and May, were providing fabric for create your own masks. We had been given a donation of a great big tote of fabric, the quilting cotton fabric that's very good for homemade masks. And so we cut up pieces of fabric and provided instructions and a link for YouTube or a video, an online video. So people were able to then create their own homemade masks. We provided over 480 kits of fabric for the people to make masks. And at one point they were calling me at home saying, we need more stuff, we need more stuff. So very well received by the community. So those were different things that we were doing even though we were closed. We did reopen fully, again, under health department recommendations of only up to 9 people, 10 people. I have to be here, so it's only 9 extras. We reopened the end of May, and we've been again following health department criteria, the governor's orders for masks, and we're now again allowing up to 14 extra people and then the 1 staff. So we have been providing many different services to our community, even though we've been doing it kind of in the background and quietly. We're still being very active in participating. So again, I want to thank you once again for your support. And if you have questions or something on the annual report that you'd like a little more explanation, I would certainly be glad to speak to that.
Anybody have any questions for Christie?
How do you collect money for another county? You just put down how many on there?
I can answer that.
Go ahead, Chris.
Yep, every year we are required to submit a report to the other counties for how many circulations were provided to people who live in those other counties. So our biggest usage is Buffalo County and Pierce County. So they get a letter that says whatever our cost per circulation is, and in 2019 it was $3.29. And then I provide them with the number of items checked out for people who do not have a library. So if it's someone in Buffalo County that actually lives in the city of Elma, we cannot charge Buffalo County for those people. We can only charge for the people that live in the townships or like the village of Nelson that does not have a library. So every year those county clerks receive a letter with how many circulations and how much our cost per circ is. And then they pay us accordingly.
Thanks for that. I like your layout. It's a marvelous job.
Thank you. Any more questions for Christie? Hearing none, thanks again, Chris, for a good job, and keep it up.
Thank you very much.
You got it. Okay, we'll move on to D. Review the highway facility project timeline and current project status. Pam, you're up. You passed out a paper, you should have it on your desk here.
Take that off to speak, so, Yes, at the request, I was going to just discuss this timeline with you, but I have printed out my summary document as well for your reference. So the very first thing on the document is last Friday, we did close on the sale of our current existing highway facility property. So the funds are sitting in escrow, and we are allowed to occupy that property until October 31st of 2021. And there'll be some other things you'll see what we have to do as I review this timeline. By August 31st, and I'll back up just a minute, the things that aren't on here are things that maybe the administrative committee has been involved in, but there has been quite a bit of work to get to that escrow closing with Quick Trip. We had numerous title issues, some cleanup of parcels of property. There were easements that Quick Trip had to obtain for utilities. They had to work with the city of Durand, who partnered with them to relocate a city street and to partner in the commitment for paying for the new streets once they're constructed. So thanks to the city of Durand for working through those issues with Quick Trip, as well as everybody involved in cleaning up all the title insurance issues to get us to that closing last Friday. By August 31st, we will purchase our new highway facility site out of the corner of County Highway N and D in town of Waterville. To get to that, again, there's been a considerable amount of work. We've had some phase 1 and environmental testing done. We've worked with the town of Waterville to get a conditional use permit. We've got a variety of DNR and state approvals and permits. We've done a survey on the property, and we have title insurance commitment in process. Those of you that have bought and sold property realize all the steps to get to those closing events. So by August 31st, if not sooner, we will close on the purchase of that property from the Stellar family. Tomorrow, on August 20th, tomorrow on August 20th at 2:30 p.m., we have a public meeting posted. It is the public bid opening. We do have a limited capacity in the room, so for anybody, there we go. So there's, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay. As I was saying, for the bid opening, we have a limited capacity in the room, so anybody who is interested in attending, either bidders or the public, please contact Audrey in advance, and we may need to be creative as far as organizing bids. There's also a Zoom meeting set up for anybody who does wish to view that public bid opening. The link to that, I believe, is on our website, and it is also in all the bidder documents and instructions for anybody to watch that public bid opening. Then at that meeting, what will happen is we will note the lowest responsible bidders. Then over the process, over the time frame of the next week, we will be reviewing the bids, being sure the bids meet the specs, verifying that a qualified bidder, for example, can they provide proof of insurance, things like that. And then I have on here a date to be determined, but it's doing what's called establishing a GMP, which is a gross maximum price. That is something we have contracted with our construction manager. So once we roll the bids together, figure out which ones we will be accepting, that will roll into a GMP, and that is a contract addendum with our construction manager. So as soon as we have that done, we will be posting a public meeting for the administrative committee to meet, review the GMP addendum, and accept the bids. Hopefully that all happens by August 31st, because on August 31st, if you drive by the new site, you should most likely see a job trailer located on the site and things beginning to happen out there. We will be having a formal groundbreaking, the date to be determined. Then from September 1st of 2020 through August 1st of 2021, we will be constructing a new highway facility out on the site. Then from August and September of 2021, our highway department will be moving from their current site, coordinating removal of equipment, and many, many more things. So it's targeted for those 2 months. However, before they can start that, we do need to clear final punch lists and make sure everything at the new facility is appropriate for move-in. No later than October 29th of 2021, all of our operations need to be relocated and personal property needs to be removed from our existing sites. And then no later than October 31st of 2021, that is our escrow release date. So the funds that are currently sitting with the title company in Eau Claire in our escrow account will be released to Pepin County, and the warranty deeds, property transfers, all of that to Quick Trip will occur. So that's kind of the big picture. In the short term here, a few more things that have to happen is a bond sale. In process this week is our annual audit. We need to have those audit statements in hand to be able to sell bonds. On October 1st, I have our S&P bond rating call scheduled to update our bond rating. On October 14th, we will release a preliminary offering statement. On October 21st, that is when our bond sale is scheduled to occur. And November 11th is when the funds would settle and the funds would be released to the county. Other items that have to start to happen is in September, because prior to us vacating our current site, we have some fuel tanks we have to remove. So starting in September, our highway commissioner will be working with his staff to determine some sort of temporary fueling plan for our trucks. We will issue an RFP for the tank removal and DNR reporting that has to happen. And then we have until we vacate the site to remove those underground storage tanks, remediate anything as necessary, monitor the site as required by the DNR, and then obtain a no further action determination or closure letter from the DNR. Because that could take some time, we will most likely get going on that tank removal as soon as we can. Also in September and October, our highway commissioner will be working on compiling a budget for moving expenses, equipment needs, etc. And then this group will see a budget mod come before them, because if you remember correctly, when you approved the original budget for the project, there was a dollar amount sitting in contingency expense for those type of expenses that could not be reasonably estimated when we did that initial budget modification. So you'll see that coming before you as well. So lots of moving parts and pieces, but we are making progress. Any questions?
Thanks, Pam. Anybody have questions?
Tom, I have a question.
Go ahead, Chris.
I know I asked you at I think the last highway committee meeting about the construction manager, Myron Construction, if they were going to submit bids of their own, and if so, if those were going to be due earlier than the general bids, and you said you thought so. Could you tell me if that was the case, and if they have submitted them before tomorrow's deadline?
I'll let Pam answer.
Nope, all bids, including any work that Myron Construction would like to self-perform, are due at 2 p.m. tomorrow. All the bids are due sealed to me. None of them will be open. We also have an email address, bids@co.pepin.wi.us, that our IT company has set up, and only they have the password. They will be giving me that password at 2 p.m. tomorrow. So we will then open any electronic bids, any bids that were submitted electronically at that time as well.
Any other questions?
So you don't really know what to talk to?
We don't until tomorrow when we start opening all the bids, and then we will group them, note the lowest qualified bidder, or the lowest bid at that time, but then we have to start to go through and make sure the bids meet specs, that the bidders are qualified, etc. Then we will roll that all together, bring it back with that gross maximum price contract addendum.
What happens now? In other words, the county had to take care of all the cleaning up, well,
Just removing the fuel tanks.
of the whole, like 2
fuel barrels and all that stuff around.
Yep, we have 2 tanks that are out there that are, they're underground tanks where our trucks fuel up, so we need to remove those. And if there's any remediation connected with those, we have to do that, and then remove our personal property and walk away.
That's between one, yeah.
Okay. Any other questions? Thanks, Pam, I don't hear any more. Okay, ongoing review of the facility reopening and employee safety plan. You're up again, Pam.
You wanna do the admin flexibility, 8A first?
Okay, I don't have a in here. Oh, the approval of the health department limited term employee?
Admin flexibility?
Yeah. Okay,
Now it's back.
yeah, okay, go.
Thank
Oh.
Do
you.
we have a set price of what it should go to?
For,
Well, okay, let's say a bid comes in, lowest bid is 20, say it's 9 million, 20 million. Are we gonna take it or what?
no, our contract, we are capped at, there's a
Oh,
price
that's
in the
all right.
contract, we're capped at 9
Bid
million.
contract.
Yep, and this board has passed the, budget modification for the project, which caps those dollars.
Okay. Okay, move on to the approval of the health department limited term employee.
Yep. As I noted at last month's, board meeting, but that was my last administrative flexibility action, that resolution has now expired. On July 15th, after the Board of Health meeting, at the request of the health director, I was asked to approve the health department RN LTE final hire of the candidate and set their rate of pay. They wanted that expedited prior to the next Board of Health meeting due to current workloads and needs for many things going on in the health department right now with the current pandemic. So I discussed that with Mickey, our personnel director. I discussed it with John Andrews, who's the Board of Health chair, and they both agreed that we should go ahead with those actions and get that person started and on board. And so I authorized it. The Board of Health has approved the hire and the pay rate now at their recent August meeting. So for the resolution, I bring this also before you.
Okay. Any questions or any more discussion or an entertaining motion to approve this health department limited term employee?
I'm so moved.
I'll second it.
Motion by John, second by Tessa. Any more discussion? Roll call, please.
Chris Winkler.
Yes.
Paul Oak.
Yes.
Michelle Pepin.
Yes.
Tessa King.
Yes.
Bill Ingram.
Yes.
Tom Miller.
Yes.
John Andrews.
Yes.
Kevin Kozak.
Yes.
Don McDonough.
Ah.
Angie Boxell.
Yes.
Michael Wright.
Yes.
Rebecca Hanson.
Yes.
All 12 yeses.
Motion carries. Okay, now we go on to the ongoing review of the facility reopening and the employee safety plan.
Okay, we have the lengthy document that this board approved last month. As promised, the items that are not normal operating procedure, if anything is normal right now, but at any rate, I promised that I'd bring those things back before you and revisit them monthly just to make sure you want to continue with that plan. So our facility reopening is scheduled for September 1st. As many of you came in today, you maybe saw the doorbells that we have outside. So what that means is that prior to September 1st, we requested everybody to have an appointment. If you had an appointment, you ring the doorbell, you get screened at the door, you come to the facility, get whatever you need. After September 1st, while we still encourage appointments and encourage things to be done via mail, email, electronically, via the Dropbox, in those type of methods, If somebody arrives at the door without an appointment, they ring the doorbell, we will contact the department, that department will come, screen them, let them in, and serve them. So that is the change, that people without appointments can begin to appear at the door. We will screen them, and they will be served. September 1st is also, that also coordinates with the sheriff's department. He is also planning on September 1st to begin to let people enter the jail lobby area. And the courts are also beginning to do in-person proceedings. I believe September 7th is their first one. They will continue to do things as they can remotely, but they will begin to do more things in person September 7th. So, again, we talked about access to the facility. Limited to one door. It's the back handicap accessible entrance, but the door will still be locked. They just have to ring the doorbell. Somebody will answer it, let them in, and serve them. This document did require face coverings in the government center. What I will note is that now we do have the governor's order in place, so to the extent that that is more restrictive than anything in this document, that prevails. To the extent that anything in this document is more restrictive than the governor's order, then this document prevails. So at this point, face coverings for the governor's order are required in the building, but I believe that's a 60 days. So in September, this board will again discuss it and determine to continue that or do whatever you so choose when the governor's order expires. So we will revisit that next month. We have screening questionnaires in place. Public meetings, we will continue to offer online options, and the plan was through December that that would be allowed by the board for people to participate remotely. We have business travel restrictions still in place. County funded travel is limited right now until further notice. Any non-essential travel for business purposes, including but not limited to trainings, meetings, should continue to be postponed, or alternate methods utilized to achieve the purpose, such as conference calls or web-based options. Vehicles, no more than 2 people in any county-owned vehicle. And effective September 1st, the staff will be returning to the building. Any ongoing telework will come forward in a new request per the new handbook policy that the board did adopt last month. I believe those are the only highlights I was going to hit. So if those are the items that you still wish to have in place until we can revisit them next month, great. If not, that's up for your discussion. But that is the plan as of September 1st to begin occurring.
Any other questions for Pam?
I have a question. I was just wondering, is it possible to move the doorbell into the vestibule out front in case of inclement weather? Because out back you have the overhang, but out front you don't. So I don't know if that's something to consider.
I can take a look back to see if there's a lock on that internal
Right,
door.
right.
We'll take a look.
That one, yeah, just because the weather's going to start changing on us quickly. And are you guys doing okay manning those doorbells? Is it something that we need to make sure is being a shared duty?
Yeah, right now, currently, my office is doing most of it. We've had a couple other offices take a day here or there, but I will be soon basically having a schedule, and other departments will be asked which days they are going to take to help out. Because once there's more public presenting at the door and wanting access, the volume will obviously increase. So we'll be asking other departments which days they would like to take and help out. So I have no doubts they'll step up and help. We all help each other out when we need to.
Any other questions?
Yes, Deborah Miller, can you explain to me why no one is wearing a mask at the meeting tonight?
Well, we're social distancing right now. I guess, everybody feels comfortable that's in the room.
But I understand that the governor mandate and the county, I think it's for the safety and the well-being of all the supervisors in attendance, to protect the others in that room. So I guess I'm hearing from constituents that have addressed me tonight, with concerns asking why everyone is not wearing a mask.
Any other questions? So we voted changes, we don't need to do anything, so.
Not unless anybody desires any changes, if not, we'll revisit it in September and make sure you still want travel restrictions and the other things I mentioned to continue, or when you're comfortable with ending some of those things, but for now,
Well, it's not change that document as time goes on.
Right.
for now, that's what's
For this month,
in
we'll let
place.
it go. Okay,
Thank you.
announcements, number 9. We got any announcements?
I'm not sure if the Mississippi River Regional Planning Commission had contacted the county or not, but I was appointed, I was the governor appointee. I guess myself and John Andrews represent the county. I did not hear, maybe John was on the call last Wednesday.
No, I wasn't on the call, I tried to get in, and they called me afterwards and told me that there was a problem on their end, that's why I couldn't get in.
Okay, I'm not sure if the county wants to report. We meet every 2 months or not. If so, I can give a synopsis of that meeting next month.
Yes, just give us the highlights, whatever you think is pertinent. So,
And I wasn't notified of that you had been appointed, so.
I can forward you the letter, Audrey.
Okay, that'd be good, thanks.
any other announcements, anybody? Seeing none, we'll move on to future agenda items and meeting date. Anything has to be on?
I will bring you a budget timeline next month, so we can start thinking about the 2021 budget.
Budget time again.
Yes.
Anything else? I'm sure they'll be letting us know. The date is going to be 16th of September. Okay,
What date was that again,
September 16th.
16.
Okay. Hearing nothing else.
We're wearing our masks.
Hearing, meeting's adjourned.
What are you doing, Paul?
Shortest meeting I've ever been
Battery part, this year's lamps on.
Right?
Obviously, we were
I
gonna
think
meet
this
down
is
this
sort of
week.
what
We're
I
not
was
gonna meet
gonna
Maybe
everyone.
push out.
Oh.
Well, you did too long on our daughter.
Yeah, yeah.